Okay, hi everybody. Today I want to talk about something that happened to me at the park yesterday. Right now I'm a whole lot more calmer about it because, I got to talk about it with my friends, etc. But I'm calm. But it has to do with my child. So we were at the park yesterday for about a half an hour before I took my other son to soccer. And as we were at the park, another group of children from the local daycare had come in, and I think it was about two classes of children. It was a lot of children in there. I also want to share with you that, my child is autistic, so I know him very, very well. And I know that when I go to the park and there's a lot of children, not so much when there's not that many children there, but when there's a lot of children there and I know he's going to be interacting with a lot of children, I don't talk on the phone with my friends. I just keep a very tight eye on him, and I'm watching him everywhere he goes, So, because I know that he gets really, really claustrophobic, or he really doesn't know his boundaries at times. He's really getting better at that, but there are times like when he's really, really exhausted, he's just not in a good mood. The way that he expresses to other people to back off is to go up there and slap a child across the face. So it's very, very important to me to keep a very tight eye on my child when there's a lot of children at the park. So in this instance, I was very upset about it. Underneath the gymboree, there is a little tiny picnic. It's a play area. It's a play picnic area. It's a little picnic table with two little benches on each side. That's underneath the gymboree. If you have children, you know what I'm talking about. So there was this little girl who was with the daycare, and she was sitting on the picnic table, and on the outside, right in front of her, is a step ladder to get up to the second level. That's where all the go up there to get on the slides, etc. And so my child proceeded to climb up this ladder, and this little girl grabbed my son around the legs, and I'm like, oh my God, no, because me being a mom, I probably panicked a little bit too much, even though I know that wasn't a safe thing. I'm sure his footing was okay, but it does panic me when somebody grabs your legs like that. Number one, anybody else would get startled, and just fall over. But not only that, after I told the little girl, I'm like, no, in a very nice way, because I don't reprimand anybody else's children. It's not my job, I'm like, but in the moment, I had to stop her right in a second. I didn't have time to go talk to the daycare teacher. So no, stop right there. Don't do that. So in her response to hearing me say that, she balls up her fist. She brings it back and she went bam on his thigh, and then bam on his privates. And I'm like, oh no. I was like, if you knew me, I'm not the kind of mother allows that, to go down. Not at all, So I told Nicholas, because I was on the outside of the fence, I said, Nicholas, come down the stairs, please be very, very careful. No, don't go near the little girl. I'm just trying to no, don't go near her because she will hurt you. So at that moment, I proceeded to go and talk to the daycare teacher. And, I let her know, as I just explained to you, what had just happened. And I got the response that I just really didn't expect. She started rolling her neck and rolling her eyes, and she was like, well, your son was chasing after my children, my daycare children, and he was hitting them. I was like, okay, maybe she didn't hear what I just said. So I repeated the story. I don't think not right away, but I was like, whoa, 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 like, wait a minute. I was like, number one, I kept a tight eye on my child, because I know my child, he needs to be, and it's nobody else's business if he's autistic or not, you know, so I try to keep that out of, you know, the argument. But I said, you know, you know, as a parent, I keep a tight eye on my child. I'm watching him everywhere he goes, and I know that he was not punching on the children. He was not hitting them at all. He was playing with the daycare children. He was running after them, as well as all the children are running after each other, just having fun being children. And there was some instances where a child would stop short and my child would bump into him, but nobody was complaining about it. Nobody was, you know, there was not a problem. And, you know, that's number one. Number two, really, that's your response about your daycare child hitting my child in the thigh, punching my child in the privates, and, you know, and first of all, grabbing my son around the legs as he's climbing up the chair, up the ladder, like that. Really, that's your response? Like, don't you think that you should reprimand your child? Like, you know, put her on timeout, or, you know, and she just didn't have, she was just like that. And I'm like, okay, so maybe she didn't hear what I had to say. So I repeated the story. And upon repeating the story, now apparently I've become invisible and that she can't hear me. So she just kept on, you know, she kept looking ahead, like she didn't have anything to say to me. So at that point I said, maybe if I go to the office, you know, and have a complaint about, you know, have a complaint there, maybe they'll listen to me there. And all of a sudden, that's when she became like, oh, but you know what? I was like, save it, because, you know, you didn't want to give me the time of day. You didn't want to do your job by reprimanding your child, putting her in time out, or whatever it is that you need to do. Now you want to have something to say to me? You know what, Nick? I almost said my child's name. I'm like, you know what, Sonny, let's go. You know, baby boy, Papa, let's go, we're going. And that was it. I did. And when I got home, I did, you know, call her boss, and I let her know. And the boss, like, posed a really good question, like, well, you know, because I was telling her the entire story, how the daycare teacher felt that my child was chasing after the other children and hitting on them. And so the boss was like, well, did she come up to you? Did the daycare teacher come up to you and, you know, say that your child is out of bounds, you know, like hitting on a child? I'm like, no, she didn't say anything to me. I was the one who, you know, initiated the complaint, the conversation with her. And she was like, She was like, you know what? I know exactly who you're talking about. Okay, I will have a talk with her. I'm so sorry that happened to you. It will get resolved. Because I also made an anonymous phone call, because it wasn't about that. I know this girl from around the area. So anywho, that was like a very long story. But, you know, I also let you know, this daycare's boss know that, you know, there's two daycare teachers sitting on the benches in the sun, sunbathing, when one should have been on the other side, one side, and the other one should be on the other side, and they should be marching back and forth, circling around the gymboree area, keeping an eye on everybody. They weren't doing that. They were just sitting there. Some of the children were crying because they did fall down, not from my son's doing, but, you know, like, all they did was yell and scream, like, oh, Mariah, that's not a real child's name there, but, oh, Mariah, like, you know what, you need to, like, come from out of there, And I'm like, okay, so I let the boss know that, you know, everything that they were doing in there was not appropriate in my eyes. Like, I go to other areas where, you know, where I live, you know, it's a fairly good area. All areas have some crime, whatever, but I live in a really good area. But, you know, it saddens me that, you know, this daycare is right a part of, you know, this area that I live in, and I'm like, you know, it's daycares like these that, you know, really bring the place down. You know, I go